Okay, 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 okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike, Sam, Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you wanna support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shields. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike, Sam, Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.
The same day went Jesus out of the house and sat by the seaside, and great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places, where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth, and when the sun was up they were scorched, and because they had no root they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground, and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Esaias, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it. Yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that received seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that received seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds. But when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs, and becometh a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. Another parable spake he unto them, The kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened. All these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Then Jesus sent the multitude away, and went into the house. And his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto treasure hid in a field, the which when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchantman seeking goodly pearls, who when he hath found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had, and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea, and gathered of every kind, which when it was full, they drew to shore, and sat down, and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angel shall come forth, and sever the wicked from among the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Jesus saith unto them, Have ye understood all these things? They say unto him, Yea, Lord. Then said he unto them, Therefore every scribe which is instructed unto the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and old. Chapter 12. Whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. A good man obtaineth favor of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices will he condemn. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. The thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be commended according to his wisdom, but he that is of a perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoureth himself and lacketh bread. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. The wicked desireth the net of evil men, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. A fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man covereth shame. He that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. There shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be unto tribute. Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious. In the way of righteousness is life, and in the pathway thereof there is no death.
Hello. Welcome to Toronto Bible Study. I'm your host, Mike Sampats, and today we're going to look at the Proverbs chapter 16 at the last half of it, okay? Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks for joining, Liliana. I'm not sure if that's you still watching or if you left or something, but anyway. Glad to see that at least somebody's here, and let's start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Almighty God, Father, you're clothed in majesty, you're clothed in strength. You're a mighty God, Father, a mighty King. Father, thank you for this Bible study, for these brothers and sisters that come and watch and listen as we study the Word. Give them wisdom, Father, give them strength. Help them to understand these proverbs that we're about to read. Help them to use them, to apply them to their lives with wisdom, to apply them to their speech and to their actions. And help us all to just grow in the grace and knowledge of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, Father. On him be glory forever and ever. Amen. All right, everyone. Oh, you are here? Okay. Hey, Liliana, thanks for joining. Okay, so today we're going to look at Proverbs 16. So let me just pull that up. Sorry, I'm a little bit sleepy again, you guys, but I do have my coffee here, so I should be able to make it through today. Okay. So yesterday we read from Proverbs 16, 1 to 15. And we saw there that, this is the first, oh, by the way, this is the first of the new section, right? Because we saw originally that chapters 1 to 9 was a section which mostly included these longer poems rather than the short sayings, right? Then from 10 to 15, you had the short sayings begin. But those were all based, or almost all, not all, but almost all of them from 10 to 15 were this kind of thing where where they have what's called they're opposing the first half opposes the second half. They call it antithetical parallelism. And so what do we have here? He that refuses instruction despiseth his own soul, but he that heareth reproof getteth understanding. So they have one side is kind of saying what happens to this guy, and the other side is saying what happens to the other opposite guy, the guy who's completely the opposite. And so they're both kind of saying the same thing, but they're saying it from opposite ends. Okay. And then and so those went on until here. And then in 16 we started this new type of proverb where most of them are this thing they call a synonymous parallelism. So let me give you an example. I mean, this one is not synonymous parallelism. This is just saying the same. It's just saying something. It's just saying something. Like this one. By mercy and truth, iniquity is purged, and by the fear of the Lord, men depart from evil. It's basically saying the same thing in different words, okay? But mercy and truth is kind of the same as the fear of the Lord. If you have the fear of the Lord, then you have mercy and truth. If you have mercy and truth, that means you have the fear of the Lord. They're the same thing. And then iniquity is the same as evil. And being purged means it's being removed. And here is men depart. So they're saying the same basic idea, with slightly different, but same basic idea with different words, right? And that's what they call parallelism. This type of parallelism they call synonymous parallelism. Whereas the other ones where they're opposing each other, that's antithetical. And there's other different kinds of parallelism. We won't discuss them all right now, but just to understand that now the Proverbs have moved to a new section in chapter 16. And this section runs until about 22, chapter 22, somewhere in the middle of chapter 22. There's a new poem begins, like a longer poem. So that's where you have a new section beginning. But in this section, it's mostly this kind of synonymous parallelism. Okay, like we see here. Not all of it, though, but most of it, or quite a bit of it. But anyway, today we're going to start from 16. And bear in mind that before 16, we had a section that was mainly, a lot of it had to do with the king and the king's, it was sayings about the king. And then at the beginning of the chapter, it was sayings about God, basically. Like, notice how all of these have the God's name, Lord, Lord. This one doesn't, but this one does, Lord, Lord, Lord. See? So they do this quite a bit. Of the first 9, there's only 2 of them that don't have it. This one doesn't have it either. But then this one has it. Then you have, after the Lord's, after the little section with the Lord, then you have a little section about the king. But not all of these are talking about the king, though, including, for example, this one doesn't talk about the king. And then in 16 now, we begin this little section, which this is going to talk about, I mean, we're going to look at the section from 16 to 19 first, and then we're going to look at the next section. But from 16 to 19, it's talking about how wisdom is better than gold. But anyway, I'm going to read the whole section from 16 to the end, and then we'll talk about it. Synonym and antonym. Yeah, antonym. Well, antonym is the opposite thing, right? That's why they call it this. So they have the synonymous parallelism, and then they don't call it antonymous. They call it antithetical, because the thesis, is like antithesis. It's like another idea. The thesis is like your idea or your argument. So the antithesis, or the opposite, like the opposite idea, the opposite argument, you know? So that's what they're trying to say with that. But yeah, thanks for that vocabulary there. All right, let me read it. How much better it is to get how much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. Better it is to be of an humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. He that handleth the matter wisely shall find good, and whoso trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. The wise in heart shall be called prudence, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning. Understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that hath it, but the instruction of fools is folly. The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips. The pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. He that laboureth, laboureth for himself, for his mouth craveth it of him. An ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his lips there is as a burning fire. A froward man soweth strife, and a whisperer separateth chief friends. A violent man enticeth his neighbor, and leadeth him into the way that is not good. He shutteth his eyes to devise froward things, moving his lips, he bringeth evil to pass. The hoary head is a crown of glory, if it be found in the way of righteousness. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh the city. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. Amen. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. See, this one is very interesting because it's another one. There's a lot of these in this chapter that the Calvinists will use, and that's one of them. Because it sounds like God just controls everything in the universe, but that's not what he's talking about at all. But we'll get to that one. Let's see. Hey, typical. God bless, brother. Thanks for joining, my man. Yeah, in the third grade. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Antonym and what is this? Synonym and antonym. Yeah. All right. So, how much better? Well, let's think about this section here first a little bit. Like this little section from 16 to 19 is the one we're going to look at here, and so it's basically 4 verses. And what's happening here? There's 2 better than sayings here. Notice it's beginning and the end. How much better is it to get wisdom? Better it is to be of an humble spirit. So this type of better, how much better or better it is type of saying is at the beginning and at the end of this little section, right? So normally when you have the same word or the same phrase at the beginning and at the end of a specific section of the Bible, that's called a inclusio or a frame. And what happens in that, what usually happens when you see that type of thing, it's not always, but usually, is they're trying to set up this argument or this sort of thematic thing. So there's a theme here between 16 and 19. There's a theme, and it probably has to do with something with this idea of it's better to do this than to do this. Or it may not, it may just be something more along the lines of there's some kind of commonality between these two that has thematic relevance to this whole section. So, for example, how much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? Better it is to be of an humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. So this is they're kind of saying a similar idea, right? If you think about it, because this one is saying it's better to get wisdom than gold. And this one is saying it's better to be humble than to have than with the humble with the other lowly people, the poor people, than to divide the spoil or to have riches, but you're only with the proud people. Which is kind of the same idea, right? Wisdom is better than gold. So it's better to be this guy. This guy is in humble spirit. Humble spirit is kind of part of wisdom too. So he has wisdom and he's with the lowly. It's better to be him than to be this guy who got the gold and the silver, but he's with the proud. And even these two other ones here have a similar idea as well. So we'll look at them as we go, but you can see there's a theme here in this section, all right? Now, like I say, though, each of these needs to be understood in its individual, as an individual saying in and of itself. You just look at any one of these verses by itself, and it stands on its own as a piece of wisdom from God, right? But you can also look at the theme of the section and see if there's another kind of lesson here for us, okay? But we'll look into that as we go. But all these hold up wisdom and humility as better than having money or riches. And some people see that there's this emphasis in between 16 and 23 further down on gaining wisdom and teaching wisdom. But there seems to be a little bit of a distinction. Like from 16 to 19, it's about the motivations for gaining wisdom. And then from 20 to 24, it's about the process of transmitting wisdom or teaching it to someone else. So we'll look at that as we go as well. Now, if we just look at 16 now, how much better is it to get wisdom than gold? And to get understanding, rather to be chosen than find silver. Or than silver, sorry. So notice that there hasn't been really much said in this whole chapter about wisdom. You have one thing about the wise man here. Okay, but for the rest of the chapter, the word wisdom is not mentioned, which is very interesting given the fact that this is Proverbs, the book of wisdom. And also, this is the very central verse of this chapter. Like there's 33 verses, right? So there's gonna be wait a minute. What am I thinking here? Is that right? Would it be 16? Would be the middle? Or would it be 17 would be the middle? All right, let me think about that. I don't know if I got that right. Actually, yeah, it would be 17 is the middle one, right? So maybe not. But anyway, it's very close to the middle anyway. Now what we saw earlier was this stuff about the God first from 1 to 9, talking about the Lord. And then you had this stuff about the king from 10 to 15. So that stuff is evidence of the value of wisdom. Okay, the value of wisdom is that it's going to get you in a right relationship with God, and it's going to allow you to be a good king or to deal properly with your king if you have one. For us, we don't have a king necessarily. Actually, I do have a king, being a Canadian, but many Canadians don't think of politics in that way. So you might think of it as your prime minister, or in America, the president. But I actually do think of our king as really our ruler. I mean, I think of it. I don't think the Canadian government's that powerful. It's more of a circus, and I think the king is really the one that runs the show. But anyway, that's another discussion. But the thing about wisdom, the reason why it's so important, especially as we see here, The wrath of a king is as messengers of death, but a wise man will pacify it. Like the thing is, as we've seen in other parts of the book, wisdom is this thing that can bring life and death, you know? Even just earlier in the chapter, the Lord hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. That means they're going to get it on the day of evil, right? And everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Though hand join in hand, he shall not go unpunished. So the wicked, the evil, the lacking in wisdom, they're going to be punished, right? So wisdom is this thing that can allow you to avoid those things. And so it's very good to get and very important to get. Now it's a little bit different than some of the other better than sayings. Like this one is better it is to be of a humble spirit, right? But this one is just a little bit different. How much better it is to get wisdom than gold. Oh, by the way, notice how better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. So better it is to do this than this, right? That's the normal form of these better it is type of sayings. But this one is a little bit different. How much better it is to get wisdom than gold. And then the next one is reinforcing that idea, right? This is what they call, again, the synonymous parallelism, right? They're basically telling you the same idea in different words. So the main idea is that wisdom is more important than wealth, more important than riches, right? So it's kind of like it's like gain is good. There's nothing wrong with getting money or getting rich or anything, but it's like if you don't have wisdom and also the integrity that wisdom brings with it, then the riches, they don't have the value anymore. They won't benefit you because you'll end up, because as we know from reading this book, without wisdom, you're looking at death, you're looking at disaster. And money's not going to help you with money's not going to get you out of dying. It's not going to get you out of a disaster from God. So it's better to have wisdom than to have money. This is something we also saw at the beginning in the earlier parts of the book. For example, I mean, I'm going back to this section with the longer poems, right? Because those longer poems are giving us kind of the major themes of the book. So when we see, for example, in Proverbs 3:14, happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared to her. And notice the other things that are with her, right? Length of days, riches and honor, pleasantness, peace. She's a tree of life. Or look at Proverbs 8, verse 10. This is Lady Wisdom talking. Receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. Once again, that idea, right? Which is a very major theme of the book, and that's why we see it here. Now, this is just saying it very plainly, but there's many proverbs that kind of give you that same idea in maybe different words, right? But this is a major theme. That's why we see it in the early poems. Moving on to 16:17. The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. So another thing that we saw in the early instructions of the book is this idea of the way, and also the way that it walks straight, or this is upright, right? Which is usually how the King James translates this word, yashar. but sometimes it translates it as straight or smooth, and that's what it kind of means in Hebrew. So the highway of the straight, you may say, is to depart from evil. The highway that's smooth, the highway that doesn't have a bunch of rocks and hills and things to go over, the highway that's smooth and nice and easy to walk, straight, not crooked, not curving around and getting you lost. That's the highway of the righteous, of the upright, Yashar. And we did see this at the beginning, but we even saw it earlier in this chapter here. Oh wait, that's not it. Did you see the word way in this thing? Hang on. Let me just do this thing. But anyway, so we just see this idea of the way, right? There's the way of righteousness and the way of evil, okay? We see that very commonly. And I'll take you back to the beginning again, because like I say, those things that we saw in the beginning are thematic for the whole book. So you want to pay attention to those. My son, walk not thou in the way with them, the way of the way of these violent men, right? These people, these people that want to rob people. You want to avoid them, right? So they're the ones that take this way. They lay, so are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain, right? The way, that's the orak. And that's the same kind of thing. Oh, here we see the ways to, when a man's ways please the Lord, ways, Derek, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. So that this idea of the way and the highway, it's critical. It's kind of important here, okay? You see it here. Deliver thee from the way of the evil man, from the man that speaketh froward things. They want to deliver you from the way of the evil man. And then look at the paths of uprightness, to walk in the ways of darkness. So there's the ways of the evil man and the ways of the good man, the righteous man. And that's what we're looking at here. Hello, Glory. Hey, Kenneth. God bless, brother. It's such a big responsibility to teach with the assurance of having God's wisdom. It's such a great calling. How do you deal with this? It's one of the spiritual gifts, right? Yeah, it's one of the spiritual gifts, teaching. It is a huge responsibility. I don't know if I do deal with it that well, but I hope I am doing. I mean, certainly doing my best. Yeah, it can be rough, but it's got a lot of benefits too, a lot of blessings. So I can't complain. It's been a wonderful blessing to me, yeah. But you're right. It's a great responsibility. You shouldn't play around with this stuff. The highway of the soul the highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. So remember that idea of the upright is the yashar, the straight or the smooth. Okay, but here it's the highway of the upright. The person who is yashar is upright. They are morally upright. They are living in a righteous manner. And that person, their highway, is to depart from evil. To follow their path is to depart from evil. And if you keep that way, you preserve your soul, you guard your soul, shamar. Okay? So this is how you can guard your way as well. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. So you guard your way and you guard your soul. Okay? When you guard the way of the upright, when you keep that way, you preserve your soul. See, a man's heart, this is 16:9. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. Okay? And think about this, even in 25. There's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. The ways, right? Derek. And then 31, the hoary head is the crown of glory, if it be found in the way, Derek, of righteousness. Okay? So we want to keep to the highway of the upright, the way of the upright. When you keep that way, you preserve your soul. Now, some people say that this evil path is about evil deeds. So if you're on the highway of the upright, that means you depart from evil deeds. You don't do evil deeds. Okay? Other people think this evil here is like misfortune that happens to you. Because sometimes the Bible uses the word evil in that way. It's not about moral evil that people do, but it's rather evil when misfortune and bad things happen to you. That's like evil. Okay? So there's two ways you can look at this. All right. Now, I would suggest to you that I prefer the idea that it's talking about evil deeds. So the highway of the upright is departing from evil deeds. You don't do evil deeds. Okay? But you may look at it from the other side, because then it would match up better with this. Preserveth his soul. It's like your soul here is not your spirit or anything. It's your life. It's your physical life. So by keeping the way, you preserve your soul, which preserving your soul could be to depart from evil, misfortunate things happening to you, right? That would preserve your soul. But I think either interpretation works here, because sometimes we do see that they differ, but that they're both giving, so they're both kind of understood to be factual. So you could interpret it either way, all right? In either case, the point is that we get life or preservation of our soul, preservation of our life. We get that by keeping this way, all right? That's the important thing to remember. And this is kind of like wisdom when she was promising to protect the traveler. Remember this? Like, discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee, to deliver thee from the way of the evil man, from the man that speaketh froward things. So he's not going to take the evil way. He's going to depart from the evil way. And he's going to keep his way, right? Or you can think about Proverbs 3:21. My son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. So shall they be life unto thy soul and grace to thy neck. Then shalt thou walk in thy way safely, and thy foot shall not stumble. When thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid. Yea, thou shalt lie down, thy sleep shall be sweet. So when you walk in your way safely, then you walk in your way safely when you have these things. You keep sound wisdom and discretion, right? When you keep those things, you walk in your way safely, which is the same idea as this. The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. You can also see it in chapter 4, verse 10 to 13. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. The years of thy life shall be many, meaning you're protected, you have long life. I've taught thee in the way of wisdom. I've led thee in right paths. When thou goest, thy steps shall be straightened. There's that word straightened. It's not the same word, yatsar, but it's a related word. And when thou runnest, thou shalt not stumble. So you get there's a lot of themes coming out from the original poems at the beginning of the book. Moving on to 1618. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. So this is more of this idea of traveling or going somewhere, some kind of idea like that. Off topic, but I think that all gifts, including teaching, is ceased. Teaching in the sense of an infallible teaching gift. I believe that this is the gift of teaching talked about in the Bible. Maybe, I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch, I'd say, because there's other gifts there. If you look at, you're talking about 1 Corinthians chapter 12. So check it out, King 10. Well, what are the gifts there? Are they all ceased? You know, it seems like some of them are ceased. Yeah, I would agree. Like prophecy, healing, and tongues and stuff like that. But other ones, they seem to be still going on. Discernment and stuff like that. And that's been the most common interpretation of the church throughout the centuries. But you could research it and let me know what you think. But take a look at chapter 12 of 1 Corinthians first and let me know. Anyway. Pride goes before destruction, a high spirit before fall. So it's back on this idea of traveling or walking or going somewhere, right? So it's kind of like if you don't look in where you're going because you're so proud, your nose is up in the air, you're not looking where you're going, then you're gonna fall. You're gonna fall into the pit, into the ditch. Kind of like when Jesus says about the blind leading the blind, you know? Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm gonna find it. Okay, got it. Let them alone. They be blind, leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Now, who's he talking to? The Pharisees, right? Because he said that, look, if you it's not about what you put in your mouth that is going to defile you. It's what comes out of your mouth that defiles you. And the Pharisees were offended because he was talking to them like the way the things coming out of their mouth are defiling them, right? Instead, and part of it is because they're talking about how you get defiled by putting stuff in your mouth, you know? So the things coming out of their mouth are defiling them, so they got offended. And then he says, look, my father didn't plant those plants. So if he didn't plant them, they'll be rooted up. And he said, let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. But their major problem was their pride, you know? They didn't want to, they looked at Jesus and they thought, this can't be the Messiah. They thought that they knew who the Messiah would be or what he would look like, right? So they didn't get it. And because of their pride. And they will fall into the ditch. So it's very much like what this proverb is saying here. And then wait. Fix one who does not must wait. Oh, this word pride. I think it's the same word they use here. Hang on. Proud. Is it the same word? Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Though hand join in hand, they shall not go unpunished. Proud is gava. This is pride, gaon. It's probably related. Interesting. So the spirits, a haughty spirit is a spirit that's kind of like, it's almost like your motivation. Okay, kind of think of it like when we say he did that with a spirit of humility. It means that the reason why the person did it was out of a humble heart, not out of some bad motivation, you know? Or you might say he did it with the spirit of evil or a spirit of pride or a spirit of greed. And so it's kind of pointing to the motivation, right? So this is the same idea. The haughty spirit is the spirit. This is the haughty ruach. And that spirit is the one that is motivating you, okay? The haughtiness, the pride. But it's basically the same thing as this. So once again, this is the synonymous parallel, right? So pride goes before destruction, and then this is saying the same thing in different words. Haughty spirit is the same as pride. And then destruction is the same as fall. The Hebrew is kind of funny the way it looks. It's like, it looks like, let me show it to you. It's very terse, you know? Sorry, hang on, where is this? Okay. Okay, so this is like before, it's like to the face, or it's like when they say before, they'll say to the face. And it's like before my face. That's why you'll often read that in the Bible, like before my, he was before my face. What they mean is just he was before him. He was standing in front of him, you know? But this is the kind of thing they'll say. So before or to my face, and this word is shever. This is like breaking or destruction. Okay, so before destruction, goal or gaol, pride, right? And before or to the face of stumbling or falling, this is the one. Oh, this is the one that we saw in the other one, Gava Ruach, a haughty spirit. So when I was showing you that other one where I showed you in verse 5, sorry, I thought it was this one, proud, right? Or proud. It's proud in this one. It's proud, right? Gava. But if you come down here to 16:18, it's not pride. They use a different word, gaon, right? But for haughty, they use gova. It's slightly different form of the word, but it's the same word. But this word is often, it's often related to the word for height, you know. So that's kind of, it's like a high. They put their spirit up high, you know. They have a high spirit. They're not like lowly and humble. Anyway, that's kind of interesting, I guess. But moving on. Better it is to be of an humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. So this is continuing the idea of the treasures again, like we saw it here, the gold, the silver, right? And here it's like kind of, it's not really treasures, but they say divide the spoil. The spoil is like the thing that they rob, or or they took. They have it. It's their thing to divide up. Because usually spoil is like when you take a city, when an army takes a city, sacks the city, they'll take stuff, right? And the stuff they take, that's the spoil. Okay. And then there's other uses of the phrase in the Bible. It can be just like personally, like one person steals from you, what they took is the spoil. Or if they just even killed you and took it, that's the spoil, okay? But it's better to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. But how is it better to be humble and poor than proud and rich, right? That's, you might ask. I mean, we might wonder. If you imagine two groups of people, one in which you have all this cool stuff that they're kind of dividing up, like, here, you take this, I'll take this, you take that, you know? But then there's also this feeling in there, like they're, first of all, they're proud people, right? So they're like, they're gloating about it. They're bragging about, oh, look, I got all this cool stuff, man. Like, we're so smart, we're so cool. We took that stuff from those people. And then also you're looking at the other people, almost guaranteed there's going to be jealousy. There's going to be kind of anger against the other people. They're just like, oh, wait, how come that guy got that thing? I wanted that thing, you know? But then I got this thing. And it's like, it's not enough. They always want more, you know? Whereas if you go with this other group, imagine this, you go with another group where they don't have any money. They don't have anything to divide up. They barely have enough to eat. But everybody loves each other and everybody's just humble and they're together, right? There's some joy there, you know. There's some camaraderie, there's some happiness there that you just don't have with those other people, you know. You can never have it with them. Because the one community is a real community. Even though they don't have anything, they're still together. They still share what they have together, and that's love, you know. The other group, maybe the only reason they're together is because they have this stuff that they have to divide up, but they don't truly care about each other, you know. That's one way of thinking about it. But there's other aspects to this, I think, more than just that. Like, I mean, if you think about those people that were dividing up Christ's robes, right? That's the classic example of this. I should go Psalm 22. Wow, really? They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture. My vesture being my clothing, my garment, right? Because they had the robe of purple. And so purple robe is kind of expensive back then, and clothing was in general was very expensive back then. So the idea of dividing up this nice purple robe is kind of, for them, they were like, no, wait. Hold on. Let's cast lots for this thing. And whoever wins, they'll get it. But whoever got that, guaranteed the other guys were like jealous, you know? They're like, oh man, that guy got that, man. And now when he walks around wearing it, it's like, yeah, you got a purple robe, buddy. Who cares? You're just another like chump, soldier, goof, you know? You're probably gonna die the next time you go on a campaign. And who cares about your stupid purple robe? You know what I mean? It's nothing, right? But think about the people who were humbled here, these guys are the proud ones. They're proud. They're making fun of Jesus. They take his stuff and they think they're winning. But obviously they did not win that day, right? Obviously Jesus is the one who won that day. He won over everything, over all evil that ever existed, right? It's the greatest victory of all time, but they thought that they were the winners. So who would you rather be in this situation? You know what I mean? Would you rather be with these idiots, or would you rather be with the ones who really won? You know, even though right at this moment, the disciples are the ones who are like, they're the lowly, they're the humble. They've been dejected. They had to escape, you know. But ultimately, they're better to be with them. Moving on. So verse 20 now. I'll read from 20 to 24, okay? Let me just make this a little bit bigger here. Okay, I hope you can read all those. I don't know. Where can I find a KJV Grace Through Faith Alone Church in Toronto? Yeah, right, bro. I wish, man. Maybe you and I should start a church, buddy. But unfortunately, I'm kind of broke. But maybe we could do it anyway. But anyway, yeah, get in touch. We could try to do something. Humble isn't only poor. It has a few different meanings like loyalty, fairness, good-hearted, etc., right? That's true. I wouldn't say loyalty or fairness necessarily, but the humble here in the Bible is not only poor. You're right. It's a feeling of like, it's the opposite of being proud. If proud is being like acting like you're better than people, acting like you're so great, then humble is saying that, I'm not that great. And it's not about putting yourself down. It's not about that, right? To make yourself feel like low self-esteem. That's not what humility is, but it's just to understand that maybe you are a really, really nice person, really good, really hardworking, really amazing person. But if you're humble, you'll realize that all of that is from God, and all of that is just something that's a blessing that you have, and is given to you for you to go and serve others. That's why he gave you those blessings, right? That's the humility. Not to think that you're less than you are, but to understand that as great as you are, and you guys are all great, right? You guys are all wonderful, right? Because God made you that way. But the fact is, you're great because God made you that way. And so that's why we always have to thank him and not be like proud of it and acting like idiots, I hope that makes sense. Anyway, let me read these ones. He that handleth the matter wisely shall find good, and whoso trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. The wise in heart shall be called prudence, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning. Understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that hath it, but the instruction of fools is folly. The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. All right. So let's think about this. Now, this section is a little bit different. So the last section from 16 to 19, I do think they're related, but I think this one takes it in a different direction. So if this one is kind of about about how wisdom is better than treasures type of idea. That's the idea here. Okay, and it's better to be humble than to be proud. And then this section is more about how you kind of pass that information on to the next to the next generation, or to whoever or to teach some other person the wisdom that you've been taught. So I think they're related, but I don't think they're the same section. But two of the Proverbs here talk about the pleasant words, or the sweetness of the lips. And pleasant words, right? So these two of them are talking about when you teach, when you give out your wisdom, give it in a pleasant words. But looking at verse 20, he that handleth the matter wisely shall find good. And whoso trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. So this is another one of these sayings with the Lord's name in it, right? Which we saw a number of them at the beginning of the chapter. Like quite a few. About 7 in the first 9 verses are having the Lord's name in it. Then as we got into the next section, only one had the Lord's name in it. Then the next section from 16 to 19, there's none of them. Then here we have one. And this will be the only one, I think, for the rest of the chapter. I'm not too sure, though. But so the idea is that if you trust in God, you have happiness, right? So we might say this is the same thing. He that handleth the matter wisely shall find good. So remember the idea of the synonymous parallelism. So they're saying the same thing with different words. So he that handleth a matter wisely shall find good. And whoso trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. So we might say that they're the same idea, right? That handleth the matter wisely is the same as trusteth in the Lord. If you trust in the Lord, that means you're handling the matter wisely. And if you handle a matter wisely, you can't do it unless you trust in the Lord. And so they're kind of the same idea. And then the person that does this shall find good. And the person that does this, happy is he. So these might also be the same idea as well. I would suggest to you that they are. There are some other interpretations of this, but I would say that this is the right one. And there's this contrast here with the ones that plunder, the proud people, right? They plunder and they take the spoil and they divide it up, right? And so this is another kind of happiness. See how this guy is better to be the humble spirit with the lowly. It's better. Why? Because he shall find good, and happy is he. That's why. So maybe they don't have the spoil to divide, but they shall find good, and they are happy. So it's better to be this guy than to be this guy. Sorry. This also, by the way, this is very similar to Psalm 1. I always show you this Psalm 1 thing, I know, but it's like, it's so critical, Psalm 1. I think Psalm 1 is such an amazing piece. But if you see this thing, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. So that person is blessed, right? He is Asher, or Ashrei, sorry, I should say. And so Ashrei means happy, and that's the same word they use here. So this person is the person like this person, who he walketh not in these things, walketh not in the counsel of God, understands. He's not walking with the ungodly, the sinners, or the scornful. And also he delights in the law of the Lord and meditates on it day and night. He's the person, I mean, that's the type of person who's going to handle a matter wisely and find good. That's the type of person who trusteth in the Lord. Okay? So it's the same person. And also Proverbs 1, you see quite a bit of this type of same idea here, especially from 1 to 7. Proverbs 1, 1 to 7, you'll see a lot of this idea, same ideas. Now, there's something here about, giving heed. Trusteth. I'm trying to find this one word here, guys. Oh, the matter wisely. Oh, wisely, sakal. Sorry, because my notes have this thing about the word sakal here. Anyway, this word sakal also appears. This word for wisely also appears in 22 here. Understanding. Understanding here is the same word as wisely here. And it's also here, sakal. See? Sakal means teacheth, or it can mean wisely, or it can mean understanding. Okay? When you see the repetition, you want to pay attention. You see the same word repeated in the Bible, it's important. Or usually, anyway. Now, this word for trusting, this is like, it's not just having faith and believing. It's like this active kind of faith, right? It's an active trusting, like actually putting your, like risking something, you know? Like the difference between believing and trusting, in my view. I mean, there's differences. Some people disagree with me on this, but I think dictionaries and even the Bible support me here. Trusting is different than believing. So believing in the Lord is just believing. This is a thing you believe. But trusting in him is different. Now you're saying, okay, I'm going to actually risk or put something at risk that I value based on the fact that I believe what you're saying, or I believe that you're going to do what you said you're going to do, or something like that. That's what trust is. Yeah. If I say to my dad, okay, Dad, hold on to this money and I'll come get it in 1 week. I'm trusting him with my money. I'm saying, you know, I can trust you. I believe that you'll do this, but it's not trusting if I don't give him the money. If I just say, okay, Dad, I trust you, but I just hang on to the money because I don't feel like I think that he might get rid of it, that means I didn't trust him, right? Or even if I say I believe he'll hang on to the money, I believe it in my head, but I don't give him the money, then I might believe it, but I don't trust him, right? So that's the difference between believe and trust. And this is the kind of trust we saw earlier in Proverbs 3. Sorry, 5:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. So this is not just believing in him. This is actually putting actual effort or something, like you're putting something at risk based on the fact that you believe whatever this person is saying. You trust in the Lord, you trust God. That means you're gonna do things, you're gonna act in a way that shows that you trust him, you know? And in order to handle the matter wisely, as it says here, where is it? In order to handle a matter wisely, you must trust in the Lord. It's like the same idea. Because when you trust in the Lord, then then you acknowledge him in all of thy ways, then he's going to guide your steps. He's going to, direct your path, right? And then when he does that, then you'll be happy. 16:21. The wise in heart shall be called prudent, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning. Faith alone, church. Grace through faith alone. There's some like if you look on the Grace Evangelical website, right? Grace Evangelical Society on their website, you can see that they have this thing called a church tracker. And if you enter in your postal code or Toronto or something like that, it'll show you all the churches in Toronto that are listed on their thing. And there's a couple. I went to one actually. I don't like it though, because they're not really, free grace. They're more like IFB, which is all right, but they ended up they're like more like hyper dispensational and stuff, so I didn't like it. So I ended up leaving. But there's some guys, and not all of them are hyper dispensationalists, so you might be able to check some that are not too bad, yeah. Understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that hath it, but the instruction of fools is folly. So this is the last of this. We can say wellspring or we can say fountain. It's usually that word makor. Okay, so this is the last of these kind of fountain of life or wellspring of life sayings in the book. Like the last one before this was in 14:27. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Fountain is makor, see? So this is the last of these sayings in the book. Understanding is a wellspring of life. Before it was the fear of the Lord, now it's understanding. So they're kind of connected, or maybe even you may say the same thing. But here the contrast is between understanding and folly. Okay? Or wait. You might say actually the contrast is between understanding and the instruction of fools. And then the wellspring of life is being contrasted with folly. So, and then this one, the result is life. If this one is the result is life, then this one, the result is death. And we have seen that in other places in the book, right? Folly leads to death. Foolishness leads to calamity, to disaster, and then finally to death. Whereas what wisdom and understanding lead to life, long life, blessings, health. Okay? And this word is instruction, is musar, right? We've seen this word many times, of course, but it's often used to refer to, not often, but it's used fairly often to refer to like chastening or discipline. Okay. So we might say that the discipline of the fools is folly. So they get some discipline, it's foolishness, yeah. Like sometimes it's used for kind of like correction or something like that. Like he that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes. This is that word musar. And then, excuse me. Proverbs 22:15. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from it. Correction is musar. So that's the word that they're using here. I mean, the King Jesus correctly translated it as instruction, but we should remember that there is this kind of connotation here of instruction that actually has punishment along with it, or some kind of negative thing with it. So is it saying that when that the fools, is it saying that the fool is being chastened, that's what happens to him? So the man with understanding, it's a wellspring of life to him. But the man who has foolishness, he gets instructed, which is like punishment or chastened. Is that what that is? Or is it saying that that the only kind of instruction that they know is foolishness? They never got any proper instruction, proper chastening. Is that what it's saying? Yeah, you can think about that. And it might even be from the idea that don't even bother trying to instruct them, because it's just foolishness to try to instruct these people. They're just fooled, right? So you can think of it that way as well. For example, Proverbs 26:4. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. But answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. So there's a time when you're supposed to answer the fool. There's a time when you're not supposed to answer the fool. And there's different times for different things, right? Like Ecclesiastes chapter 3 says. So I'll let you reflect on that, the exact meaning of that, okay? But both understandings are basically possible. But the idea, the fact that it's contrasting with this idea of the fountain of life or the wellspring of life, that leads more to the idea that it's about them being chastened. You know, the fool is getting chastened, while the wise person, they get a wellspring of life. That's probably the more defensible understanding. Okay, moving on. The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips. Okay. So you have this repetition of some of the words from verse 21 here. Wise, hearts, lips, learning. And even this word is increaseth, right? But this word is addeth. It's the same word in Hebrew. Yasav. So you have 5 words repeated. So they're definitely trying to have a link here, trying to link these two somehow in our minds. The wise in heart shall be called prudence, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning. Right? And then here, the heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips. So here, the person that's wise in heart is called prudence. And probably the reason why he's called prudent is that the sweetness of his lips increases learning. Here, the hardest of the wise teacheth his mouth. So his heart tells his mouth. And then that's like that they teach the mouth. It's the same thing as saying he addeth learning to his lips. So it's basically the synonymous parallelism again. Right? You're saying the same thing here as you are here. So there's a connection here with the saying next about the pleasant words too, right? The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth. So his mouth is the source where this learning comes out of his mouth. His heart is wise. It teaches his mouth. Then the wisdom comes out of his mouth, and that teaches others, right? That's the benefit to other people. And then when you look at this next one, pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, health to the bones. That's the kind of words that come out of this guy's mouth. The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth. And so the heart is like guiding his mouth, right? Sakal is the same word as we saw here, and also here. Oh, no, sorry. Where's this Sakal here? Oh, it's wise. No, it's not wise. Prudence? No. Where did we see Sakal in an earlier one? Oh, it's wisely. Oh, so okay, Sakal is wisely. It's understanding. And here it's teacheth. Okay. But always remember to pay attention to that repetition when you see that. So with this one, you might say that the heart of the wise teaches his mouth, and then this is the result of that. Or I would say this is kind of the same thing saying it twice. Not too sure, but the commentary I'm using here, they're suggesting that this is the conclusion of it, and this is the sort of evidence. But I think it's just saying the same thing twice. I think it's just a basic synonymous parallelism, but we can debate that. This thing addeth learning to his lips, right? Addeth learning to his lips. This might be similar to what we saw in Proverbs 1:5. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. So you see, even the wise man should continue to get more wisdom and learn and increase his learning and attain unto wise counsels, right? So this is from Proverbs 1:5. So it's right at the beginning of the book. It's kind of like a proverb. It's like a message that we're supposed to kind of have in our head throughout the book, or it's a theme for the whole book. And so we see it. It may be that that's what it's talking about here. Addeth learning to his lips. Like he adds more wisdom to his lips. And then 24, pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. So what do we have here now? Like giving praise to pigs? Which is like giving praise to pigs? Oh, with the instruction of fools? Yeah, it's very much similar. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point too. The instruction of fools is folly. So if you give them instruction, you're fooling yourself. It's like throwing the pigs to the pearls before swine, right? That's a good point, Dave. Thanks, Liliana. Interesting thought there. I'll encourage you to look into it, and maybe you can find some more parallels between those passages. I'm going to keep going here, though. Pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. So we have seen honey as the subject of a number of the Proverbs. Actually, maybe we haven't seen it yet. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, we have for sure. But anyway, my son, eat thou honey because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to thy taste. So shall knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul. When thou hast found it, then there shall be a reward, and thy expectation shall not be cut off. That's Proverbs 24:13. And then you have Proverbs 27:7. The full soul loatheth and honeycomb, but to the hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. So when you're full, when you got everything you need to eat, even the honeycomb, even the sweetest, best food, you don't want it. It doesn't taste that good, right? It's just true, right? You know, when you're so full, you can't even eat even your favorite food, right? You can't even eat that because it's like you just got too much food in you. When you're hungry, even the bitter thing, it tastes better, right? Like, or it's like the best. You know, they say hunger is the best gravy. It's that kind of idea, right? But before this, but look what he said. Pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul, health to the bones. But before this, right? What did we read about the honeycomb in this book? In this book of Proverbs, right? Before that particular saying in 1624, the last one we read about a honeycomb was this one. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. So now when we come to this now, this is different though. This isn't dropping like a honeycomb. This is the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb. So they drop something sweet. It's like a honeycomb. If something is dropping out of her mouth that's it sounds sweet or it seems to be sweet, it's like a honeycomb, right? But is it really? And these words are as in a honeycomb. Pleasant words are as in a honeycomb, but these really are sweet to the soul and health to the bones. So there's a lot of difference than her words. Her lips drop as in honeycomb. Interesting. Anyway, this word nefesh is the word for soul, right? Or sometimes they use this word for like your throat or your appetite, almost like that kind of idea. So that's why people would say sweet to the soul, sweet to the throat, or sweet to the taste, something like that, or sweet to the palate, you might even say. But I think the KJV is correct to pick soul here. Oh, by the way, we have this sweet word, sweetness of the lips here, right? That's another idea here. Sweetness of the lips increases learning. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. So they increase learning, right? But notice this word, for his mouth craveth it of him. This is, oh no, it's a different word. Wait. He that laboreth for himself. For his mouth craveth it. That's a different word. So I don't know why this thing, stupid commentary I use. I'm gonna start using a different commentary now because this thing's making some weird errors. Anyway, so we see that this word nefesh is here, though. The word nefesh, where else does this word appear? Hang on. Let me find out where this word appears other than this. Sweet to the soul. The soul, the nefesh. The nefesh is the word, like, for example, when it says about in Genesis, it'll say about how God made man a living soul. That's that word, nephesh. But you can see this word, for example, actually, let me give you an example of it here. In Proverbs 1:18, they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk privily for their own lives. This word lives is nephesh. It's that same word as here. It's soul. Okay. And like I say, when God breathed the breath of life into Adam and he made man a living soul, that's that word, nephesh. But the honey thing is a symbol. Oh, here, this is the word nephesh too. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul, his nephesh. Okay? So by keeping the highway of the upright, you depart from evil, you also preserve your nephesh, your soul, your life. So there's that aspect too, right? So when you compare that with 1624 now, it's like the pleasant words, they're similar to this idea of the highway of the upright. The pleasant words will help you to keep the highway of the upright, to keep the way, to guard the way, right? Anyway, moving on. 1625. There's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Oh, wait. You know what? I guess I have to read this whole section here because we're just starting a new section. So this section is from 25 to 30, basically, that I'm going to read right now, okay? And in this section, what's the main thing here? It's kind of talking about like how the evil is like this fire on your lips. It keeps getting into that. That's the main theme here, you might say. And there's a bunch of negative kind of images here. It's not like the more positive type of thing. Like this is very positive, right? Pleasant words, there is the honeycomb, the health to the bones. Sounds nice. But this one, these don't sound very nice. So I'll read them to you. There's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the ends thereof are the ways of death. He that laboreth for himself, for his mouth craveth it of him. An ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his lips there is a burning fire. A froward man soweth strife, and a whisperer separateth chief friends. A violent man enticeth his neighbor, and leadeth him into the way that is not good. He shutteth his eyes to devise froward things. Moving his lips, he bringeth evil to pass. All right, let's look at these one by one. But I feel like with these two here, I feel like these are like just, I don't know. I almost feel like they're like one thing, you know? But we'll talk about it as we get there. But I don't know. Anyway. So you have this idea, there's a lot of negative imagery, this kind of villainous, bad, evil person. We see him again and again. We do see a lot of the keywords that are occurring from this section here. If you look at this section from 20 to 24 and look at the words here in 25 to 30, it's a lot of the same words, like the way and also the mouth or the lips. All right. And also, interestingly, there's this word not good. Not good. It's lo tov. Tov means good and lo means like not or negative. And then here in, where is it? 1624, I think it was. Or no, 1620 or 21, or what was it? Oh yeah, good. So 1620, he that handleth the matter wisely shall find good, tov. And then here in 29, it's like not good, not good. So that's a kind of there's definitely some kind of link here, you know. But like I say, I want you guys to think about those yourself because we're not really sure what exactly it is, and I don't want to put ideas in your head that I don't know myself, but it's definitely something there, I would say. So it's worth thinking about. But there are people who deny that idea that there's no real pattern here, but I think that's a little bit silly. Okay, so if you look at 1625, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. This is the same thing we read in Proverbs 14:12. There's a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. But you see, this is a different context here. You know? In this we see above the house of the wicked shall be overthrown, but the tabernacle of the upright shall flourish. So the house of the wicked shall be overthrown. The way that seemeth right unto a man leads to death, right? So it's the same. The house of the wicked shall be overthrown. So we don't go by the way it seems right to us. We go by the way it seems right to God. It seems right according to the word of God, right? And that's how we can avoid this way, the way that leads to death. But going back to here now, so you have the same saying there. And this is also kind of giving the same kind of theme as what we saw in this original section of 16 from 1 to 9. For example, look at this one. The preparation of the heart in man. The preparation of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. It's a very similar idea to this, right? If you try to go your way, the way that you think is right, you're gonna end up in death, right? But and this is the thing. So you try to prepare your way, the way you think, and you end up in death, right? But if you prepare your way in the way that God wants, then He's going to answer the tongue from Him is going to be good. Or this one: all the ways of man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirits. Isn't that very much similar to this? Right? So we have a very similar thematic thing happening here. So you can choose the way that seems right or straight to your eye, but your vision is often not correct, right? What you think is not always correct, as we saw here in 16:2. So what do we do then? The solution then is to not trust in your eye, but to trust in the way that God said, right? The way that we read in the Bible, the way that we learn by praying for wisdom, that's the way you need to trust, not the way that you think is right. The way that you think is right is the way that leads to death. It's only by choosing God's path that we can be sure that we're on the right path. Proverbs 16:7 again, which we read yesterday. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. When you please the Lord, even your enemies will be pleased. That means, or will it be at peace? That means you'll have peace. Oh, by the way, this is that thing, the way, right? The way again, the derek. And then you have this was also in 17, the highway of the upright. Right? So the highway of the upright, that preserves your soul. But this way that you think is right. So the upright doesn't follow the way that seems right to him. He follows the way that seems right to God. But this way that seems right to God leads to death. So you don't follow that. And then in 16:31, the way, the derek of righteousness. We'll look at that in a bit. But this idea, notice that this is after these sayings here from 20 to 24. We're very much focused on teaching or saying what you're saying or telling others is wise, right? These people, they speak the wise in hearts. It teaches their lips, and then their lips produce wisdom, right? And then other people can learn from them, right? But notice that they don't just rely on their own thing. They have understanding, they have wisdom. It's not something from themselves, it's from God, right? So they're trusting this external reference to be the objective thing. That's what we do with the Bible too, right? Like the Bible is this objective thing. So that no matter what you feel, no matter what you think, whatever you feel and think, that's just your subjective experiential thing. But you need to look at the Bible, that's the objective thing. That can give you the standard to judge. And it's the same idea here. Like, you can't just do what you think is right. You have to do what God thinks is right. And so you have to go to this external objective thing. Because what you think is just subjective. It could change. You could go by your feelings or whatever. You don't even know. Sometimes you lie to yourself, right? We all do it, right? So we have to be very careful. He that laboreth, laboreth for himself, for his mouth craveth it of him. Now, this was a little bit interesting because first of all, it's not that kind of it's not the thing where I was telling you where it's like repeating itself with different words, the synonymous parallelism. This is different. This is like I don't know, it's just one idea. It's just like it's saying one thing, and then the next part is just continuing to state more information about this one statement, this one idea. But it does have this word, he that laboreth, laboreth for himself. I don't know why the stupid commentary keeps saying that the word nefesh is here. I really don't understand. Why is it saying this? Why is this stupid commentary? Why did I use this commentary, man? How dare this thing? There's a way that seemeth right. Wait. He that laboreth, mouth craveth it of him. What is this thing saying to me, man? This thing can't even get this word right? Why? Oh, it is nefesh. Oh no, wait, look at this. Oh wow, that's so weird. Okay. So let's think about this, guys. So look what this is. Wow, man. That's wild. I don't even know. I don't know how they translate it. I gotta check that commentary because maybe we can check it together. Wow. I didn't even realize this. So okay. So this is what's happening here, guys. So remember this word nefesh, right? This is the word. This is the same word as see this word soul? This is the word nefesh. Okay. For some reason, because sometimes it's like soul is like your life or a living being or something like that, right? See how it says there at the bottom? I don't know if you can see that, but at the bottom of my computer thing, it says the translations of the word nefesh. So it's throat, soul, or living being. Okay. So in 1626, the King James has translated this word nefesh into he that laboreth. Wow, man. And then my commentary that I use when I study this book that I've just been using to make my notes and stuff, I use a couple of them, but this one is the one I use mainly. And it's saying that they use this word for appetite or something, because sometimes it does mean kind of like appetite or like throats or something, or the taste or something. So, but anyway, the King James has translated the word he as that because it's like a living being or like a soul, right? So that's why it can mean he, the soul, or the soul that laboreth for himself. Or instead of saying the soul, it just says he. You know what I mean? I hope you understand what I'm saying. But it's very interesting. I just found it interesting because the commentary was confusing me, but it's my fault because King James is a proper translation here. The commentary is using the commentary that I use, as most commentaries do, they translate it themselves. So they have a different translation, right? So for that reason, they have this word nefesh as like appetite or something like that. And I thought when I looked at the sentence, I thought, okay, this is the word craveth, so maybe that's what they mean by appetite. But they use a different word for craveth. So that's why I thought the commentary was wrong. But it's actually right. The word nefesh does appear here, but the King James correctly translates it as he. Anyway, he that laboreth for himself, right? So what's happening here? Before we saw the sweetness of the honeycomb, right? And that's sweet to the soul, to the nefesh. But now here the nefesh labors for himself. Why? Because his mouth craves it of him. So it's kind of comparing these things, right? There's this hunger almost, right? That he needs food, so he has to work. So when he works for himself. And this is not just saying for you personally, it's also like for your family. When you work, your family needs food, right? So you know you gotta need money for their family to eat. So it's all that type of thing. Not just saying that you only work for yourself, but you don't work for your boss. You work for your boss in the sense that he's your boss, but you don't do the work for him. You do the work so you can get this thing because you need food. That's the idea there. Or at least the people that are workers like that, like especially these guys are probably like hardworking people, not like just, not like some middle class person, but even middle class people, they have to work, right? They have to work or they can't live. They can stop working for a little while and they'll live on their savings or whatever, sell their assets, but eventually they're going to run out of money. They have to work to get money. And then there's other people that are so rich that they don't have to work to get money. Their money makes money, right? So that's the difference between the person like this, I would say, laboreth, the one that laboreth, and the one who doesn't labor. Yeah. But so it's kind of weird. It's kind of a hard thing to understand because of the way it's just making this. It's just observing this thing about human life. It's not really making a judgment one way or the other. It's not telling us that it's bad for the laborer to only labor for himself. It's not saying that it's good. It's just saying that that's the way it is. When laborers labor, they do it for themselves because they need it. Their mouth requires food and they need to work, or whatever. Even you might say to yourself, like I'm saying, you might say to yourself, okay, I don't really need food. That's not why I work. I'm not going to starve if I quit my job. But eventually you will, it's like we all have to kind of work for the basic things we need. Unless you're like very rich, So anyway. Where am I at here? He laboreth. But if we see that, okay, so the laborer labors for himself to feed his stomach. Let's think about if you look at Ecclesiastes. What profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? I've seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. Then I returned and I saw vanity under the sun. Ecclesiastes 4:7. 4:8. Now there is one alone, and there is not a second. Yea, he hath neither child nor brother. Yet is there no end of all his labor, neither is his eye satisfied with riches. Neither saith he, for whom do I labor and bereave my soul of good? This is also vanity, yea, it is a sore travail. Because Solomon's got a different thing to say here about labor in Ecclesiastes. But anyway, all the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled. This is very similar, right? He that laboreth for himself, for his mouth craveth it of him. All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled. All the labor of his appetite is not filled, because his mouth craveth it of him. Now, what's interesting is that this one is like almost similar to what we saw in Proverbs 6. Sorry. Go to the ants, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, and thy want as an armed man. So the person that's a sluggard, that doesn't work, he doesn't labor, right? He doesn't get the things that his mouth craveth. He's not going to get that. He's going to get poverty, right? And he's going to get want. But the person that labors, he's going to get the thing that his mouth craveth. Might be something there with that. But anyway, so we can see that it's made this clear observation about human life. The laborer, the one that works, he works for himself, not for anyone else, because his mouth requires that he work. He needs food. Now, this little section from 27 to 29, it's each of these ones begins with the word, in Hebrew anyway, with the word man, ish. Ish. So the ungodly man, the froward man, the violent man. Are they all the same man? Are they all the same wicked man? Maybe. There's different ways of seeing that as well, but I would suggest to you that they probably are, that we're supposed to kind of think of them as the same kind of guy, the same basic fool, you might say, or not the fool, but the violent man is the froward man, is the ungodly man. They're the wicked man, the scoundrel. And so we saw the portrait of this guy here. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth. He winketh with his eyes. He speaketh with his feet. He teacheth with his fingers. Frowardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continually. He soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. So this is the picture of the person who we're reading about here. Okay, the ungodly man, the froward man, the violent man. All right. So a lot of his focus is on hurting other people. He diggeth up evil, and his lips there is a burning fire. The laborer here, you see, he was working to feed his mouth, and also the mouth of his family. It's not, like I say, it's not just for his mouth, his personal hunger, but his whole, like his just like how you work to feed your family, right? That's what that's about. It's not saying it's just for the person himself, but here, this person, He diggeth up evil. He doesn't work to feed his mouth or feed his family's mouth. He works to diggeth up evil. See? In his lips there is a burning fire. What's the fire for? To burn the unsuspecting, to set the trap, to dig a pit. Diggeth up evil is like dig the pit, dig the trap. And then in his lips there's a burning fire. That means his speech is evil as well. It's not just about what he does in his labor, but also his speech is wicked. Okay? And it burns like fire because it's destructive. And we've seen the destructive power of speech already, but I mean, obviously you can see it in James 3. We've seen it many times in Proverbs as well, that speech can be very dangerous. Even so, the tongue is a little member and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter of a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members that defile the whole body and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell. So the tongue, the mouth, the speech, it is very dangerous, right? And this is what we see here. Then the next thing with this guy is he's froward. Froward meaning he is, or you might say it's kind of like being like perverse or being kind of crooked or something like that. Being like not right, You're not doing it in a right way. You're doing it some weird, wrong way. And he sowed strife, and a whisperer separated his chief friends. So the froward man, I would say it sounds like forward, right? Forward is not like, he's not a whisperer. The forward person is someone who's like, he's like, I mean, I don't know. If you go to England, they'll still use that word, forward. And what they mean is you're being too aggressive. You're being too you're supposed to be a little bit more kind of laid back and don't be so pushy and stuff, right? But being forward, and I'm not sure if it's the exact same thing as forward, but it's very similar. But to be forward is to be too much, you're too imposing of different ideas, that you're trying to push people into your way of thinking instead of just being like letting people do what they want to do. You're being aggressive and stuff. That's forward, right? And so this is kind of the thing, that when you're like that, you can sow strife. But this way is not like a whisperer. This is more like you're public, you're being too confident, you're too like aggressive, right? But this guy, the whisperer, he's more quiet. He's not like a froward, he's not forward. But they both kind of set up the same thing. This one starts strife, that's like fighting, arguments, conflict. And then this one separates chief friends. Even your friends, the whisperer will come in and start whispering in one guy's ear, whisper in the other guy's ear. A rumor here, a rumor there. And the next thing you know, the chief friends, that's best friends, they split up. So you have this absence between this and this. Between this and this, between the first half and the second half, you have this absence of unity. They don't have the unity. They don't have the goodwill, the friendship, the peace, the shall we say shalom. They don't have that anymore. They have strife. They have friends separated. But one can do it loudly by stirring up dissension. One can do it quietly by whispering in the ear, gossiping and stuff like that. But both of them are very devastating, right? To your community, to your friendships, to your relationships. So both of these are things we want to avoid, of course. Sorry, I'm trying to find this thing. All right. 26. Where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. Okay? So if there's no wood, then the fire goes out because it doesn't have fuel. If there's no talebearer, that is a rumor, a person who goes around spreading rumors and gossip, then the strife ceases. There's no fuel for the strife. That's the idea there, okay? And then look at this one. The words of a talebearer are as wounds. They go down into the innermost parts of the belly. All right. The talebearer is similar to the whisperer that we saw here. And it is, in fact, the same Hebrew words. So, take that as you will. I would say it's a very good indication. They're speaking about the same thing. Proverbs 18:8. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. So that's the same line as 26:22, but that's the idea. A violent man enticeth his neighbor and leadeth him into the way that is not good. So it's about enticing something, right? Or almost seducing someone into this wrong way, right? Now, of course, when we think of the word seducing or seduction, we think of like a woman or even a man, like think of something sexual. And the Bible does use this word in that way as well. For example, here in Exodus 22. Now, where is this thing? If a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, it's the same word here, patah. Okay. If a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. So this is like if a man seduces a young woman who's not a maid, right? A virgin, that is, she's not married, and he lies with her, that is, he sleeps with her, then he shall surely endow her to be his wife. It's kind of like a shotgun wedding. If you get caught sleeping with some young girl who's not married, then you have to marry her. That's how they used to do it back then. And not only that, if maybe the father's like, no, I don't want this guy to marry my daughter because we already know what kind of character he is, so I don't even want that. Then you still have to pay the money, which is like there's this dowry. They're kind of I don't know. Dowry is not the right word in English, but because dowries when the wife gives to the husband, right? But with or at least in modern English, but maybe in the King James days it was different. But dowry in modern English is when the wife gives to the husband. But when the husband gives to the wife, usually nowadays they'll call it bride price. It's a common thing in Africa and stuff, and also it was common among the Jews, among the Hebrews. But with this one, so the violent man enticing his neighbor. It's very similar to those guys in chapter 1. I'm sorry this is taking so long, you guys. I don't know why. But anyway, if you look at these guys in chapter 1, look, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. They're trying to seduce him to get him to do violence to his neighbor, to leadeth him in the way that is not good. Lo tov. And notice that, so before we saw the teacher, look, the pleasant words are as honeycomb, the sweet to the soul, health to the bones. The heart of the wise teaches with his mouth, right? Like these guys, they're spreading wisdom. It's good. It's health. It's sweet, and it teaches and it gives instruction. But these guys, they entice with their mouth and stuff, but it just leads to death. It just leads to destruction because they're wicked, And then we saw this also in enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. For they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. This is this kind of person. All right, and it's not the kind of person you want to be associating with. And this phrase not good, right? It's lo tov, right? And I was telling you how it's the same as good here. So this is good. They find good, tov. And this one, they find that is the way is not good or lo tov. So there's probably a link there, like some kind of thing that they want to get in your head there about the link between those two proverbs. But the idea, we know that wisdom's way is good. This way is good. You know, if you handle the matter wisely, you find good. But if you follow these violent people, you'll get the way that is not good. Okay, it's like the opposite. And this thing enticing is like basically like seducing or whatever. It's like kind of deceptive at its core, right? This idea, it's not like offering something that somebody wants. It's like you're trying to kind of trick them into doing something that they think it sounds good, but it maybe not isn't really not good at the end, you know? They pretend to be saying something good, but in the end it's not good. But then notice that these ones seems to be almost connected, right? A violent man entices his neighbor, leadeth him into the way that is not good. He shutteth his eyes to devise froward things. Moving his lips, he bringeth evil to pass. Sounds like the violent man, right? It's talking about the violent man, like these two are basically, they need to be together. Does this one make sense by itself? I'm not sure. I think it might. You might kind of think of it as like, it's just this statement about wicked people, kind of like something like what we saw here. It's just a statement about reality. And this is a statement just about wicked people in general. But I feel like it's better to read these two together. But anyway, the fact is, it says that he shutteth his eyes to devise forward things, and moving his lips, he bringeth evil to pass. So it's like he shuts his eyes to come up with his plans. It's kind of like this people who gossip in 28, right? These guys, they use their mouth. This guy, he soweth strife is with his mouth. He soweth strife is like he's speaking to people to make them fight. And this guy is also kind of doing that where he's whispering it. He's quietly whispering it here, so that they're not friends anymore. They separate the friends, right? So this is kind of like not that different from this guy, because he moving his lips, he bringeth evil to pass. First, he shuts his eyes to come up with his wicked plans. Then he goes and he talks, and then he brings the evil to pass, right? But that's just like these guys. They bring their evil to pass by their lips. And these type of people that do this type of thinking and doing this type of thing, this is maybe what is being referred to here as well. Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him that speaketh right. But if you're not doing that, if you're not speaking right, then you're doing this type of thing. You're bringing evil to pass. So no good. So last section here, the hoary head is a crown of glory if it be found in the way of righteousness. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh the city. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. So we just saw this wicked person. He's being portrayed again and again, right? From 25 to 30, it's just one after another about these wicked people. So now we get kind of a change back to more of a good, more positive depictions. Okay. It's going to highlight the ways of the righteous people in this section here. The hoary head is the crown of glory if it be found in the way of righteousness. The hoary head is like the old head. It's the head of a man that's old, like a gray head, you know? And there's a couple other proverbs about this, but think about this one where he says this, Proverbs 4:9. This is when he's talking about Lady Wisdom. If you consult and you listen to Lady Wisdom, then she shall give to thine head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory shall she deliver to thee. And remember that she also delivers long life, right? She, where is it? Keep my commandments and live, right? Live. There's lots of things. Lots of things about if you follow Lady Wisdom or you have wisdom, you'll have a long life, right? It happens again and again. And so when it says here that she will give you this crown of glory, and the year, oh, even right here, and the years of thy life shall be many, right? The years of thy life shall be many. So the years of your life are many, and then you receive the hoary head, a crown of glory. Well, it's only a crown of glory if it be found in the way of righteousness. So you might get that hoary head, the gray head, but not in the way of righteousness, and then it won't be a crown of glory to you. And we'll see how that comes out, but it won't be that crown. But a gray head is almost itself like a sign of honor in ancient Israel. Thou shalt rise up before the hoary head and honor the face of the old man and fear thy God. I am the Lord. So rise up before the hoary head means when the old man comes in the room, you stand up. You don't just sit down and act like nothing. Stand up. You give him the honor. Honor the face of the old man is like honor his bearing, his visage. You give him the honor when he comes in, right? So long life is a reward for the way of righteousness, for sure. We've seen that. We even see how this here in this chapter. If you see verse 9, a man's heart deviseth his way. Oh no, that's not. But although it does kind of say that the Lord is going to direct his steps, so. And then what about 17 now? The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. See? Preserveth his soul is like a long life. And then, 25. There is the way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Well, if you're not going that way, that means the end thereof is life, right? So long life. Long life is almost always given as this sort of benefit of being good and following the ways of God. The only other choice is to follow the ways that lead to death, right? So we don't want to do that. 1632. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh the city. So this is the last of the better than sayings in this chapter. And so it's better to be slow to anger than to be mighty. So this is again one of these synonymous parallelisms. It's he that is slow to anger is the same as he that ruleth his spirit. Rule your spirit means control your emotions, control your motivations. So he's slow to anger because he's able to control his spirit. And someone such as that is better than the mighty, better than one that taketh the city. The mighty is like the warrior. The Gibor is like the hero, the warrior. He taketh the city is also a heroic, a warrior thing to do, right? So it's not so much about the material gains of being this way. You can look at this one here. Better is a little with fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble therewith. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. So this better than is talking about the material world, the material gains and stuff. But this one is more about kind of just the way you are and the respect that you should receive and that what is better in the eyes of God. Because if you take a city, then that means you're gonna, or if you're like a mighty man, a mighty warrior, you're gonna get money, you're gonna get plunder, you're gonna get the spoil. We've already seen that it's better to where is it? It's better to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud, right? Well, the person that is mighty, the person that taketh the city, they divide the spoil, but they are the proud, But the one that is slow to anger, the one that ruleth his spirit, he's not proud. He's humble. He's wise. So if we see here that humility is better in peace than it is to be proud in war, in your victory in war, then here it's better to be patient, we might say, than to be strong. It's better to be in control of your emotions than it is to be strong enough to defeat anyone who you get angry at. So you might be so strong that even when you get angry, you can just defeat anyone who opposes you. So you can go around acting like that, right? But it's better to be, rather than that, to be slow to anger, even maybe you're not even strong enough to fight or whatever. But it's better to be that person that's in control of your emotions. And maybe sometimes it's like that guy that can't fight. He's the one who controls his emotions because he knows if I fight, I'm going to lose. But the guy who's strong, he might be like, he's less motivated to control his anger because he knows that if he gets in a fight, he'll generally win. So that's kind of like this. That's kind of the trick of being strong or being rich, is that it sometimes can lead you to think of yourself in ways that aren't really that good for you, But patience, or sorry, let me leave this one here and then hang on. But patience and self-control are themselves a kind of power in Proverbs. He that is slow of wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly. Slow to wrath, right? And we've seen that slow to wrath idea in James. Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Because why? Because the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. That's James 1:19 and 20. So being slow to wrath is this guy. It's better than to be mighty. Because was the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. But if you're slow to anger, then you have the chance to work the righteousness of God. You don't even have the chance once you get angry. Proverbs 15:18. A wrathful man stirreth up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeaseth strife. Here again, slow to anger is better than the mighty. Why? Because he appeases strife. Appeases strife means you're a peacemaker, right? So what do we know about the peacemakers? Blessed are they. Why? Because they will inherit the earth. Is that what it says? Or no, they will become children of God. That's what it says. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God, right? Matthew 5. So once again, slow to anger is better, okay? Okay, last one. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. Okay. What's going on here? Is once again contrasting the human perspective with the divine perspective, which we saw at the beginning here. For example, the preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. You may think you have something in your head that you're going to do or going to say, but at the end of the day, God, his perspective is different. He knows what's going to happen. He knows how to run the things, right? So it's different. All the ways of man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirit. So it's again, your perspective and God's perspective are very different, right? So here, that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing this comparison between our perspective and God's perspective. All we see is a lot. Oh, by the way, what is the lot? What is the lot? Okay, so what they would do in ancient Israel is sometimes they wouldn't know, what does God want me to do? Does God want me to do this, or does he want me to do this? All right, and also in the temple they would say, okay, does God want this guy to be the priest or this guy to be the priest? There's a few candidates, but they don't know who they're going to do it with, right? So what they would do is use this thing called the lots, which is, we don't know exactly what it is. It's some kind of random thing that they would use, like kind of like dice or something, like, or drawing straws. You know how we'll do the drawing straws thing? So when we do that, what are we doing? We're saying this random thing is going to decide this thing for us. We have a thing we have to decide. We don't want to just pick and choose somebody. We want to have it to be fair because everybody wants to do it or whatever. So we want, or everybody, or nobody wants to do it, as we have, somebody has to, right? Something like that, right? So then we have to pick somebody, and we have to do it in a fair way. So we'll do it by randomly, right? So this is what they would do. And thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim. This is what they would use for this thing, the oracle thing, and they shall be upon Aaron's heart. So Aaron, the high priest, and whatever high priest, they would wear this breastplate with all these jewels in it, solid gold breastplate with jewels, really nice stuff. But he would wear that as he's doing his priestly duties. And within that breastplate, like I guess underneath it or something, I'm not exactly sure how it goes, but they would have the Urim and the Thummim. And like I said, we don't know exactly what it is, but it's something that they would use to do this random choosing thing. Okay? And then he would have it there. And they would make the robe of ephod of all blue. I don't know. That's not really related. But let me show you another one. Leviticus 8:8. And he put the breastplate upon him. Also he put in the breastplate the Urim and the Thummim. Oh man, I wish I had one that was more showing you kind of what these things do. Like I said, we don't really know how they would do it. But anyway, look, here's an example. So every year they would have the Day of Atonement, which now the Jews call it Yom Kippur, which that's what it means. Day of Atonement. Yom means day, Kippur or Kepporet or Kephor, it means atonement. Okay? So Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. This is described in Leviticus chapter 16. And on that day, the priests and what they would do is the Day of Atonement is for the whole nation of Israel. So normally when you commit a sin in Israel, you go take your sacrifice, do the sacrifice, and that's your atonement for your sin. But then the idea was that everybody commits a bunch of sins that they don't really even realize about. They don't even know. Okay? So in order to atone for those sins that the people of Israel don't know about, they would have this thing, the Day of Atonement. And on that day, Aaron would consecrate himself and his sons and all those people. They would come, then they would bring two goats. One is the goat for the Lord. So Aaron shall cast lots upon the two goats, one lot for the Lord, and the other lots for the scapegoats. Okay? And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell and offer him for a sin offering. So they have lots. One's for the Lord, one's for the scapegoat. So if the Lord's lot falls on this one, then okay, this guy, he's going to get sacrificed. And that's for the sins of the whole nation. The other one, they take him to the desert and they'll just let him go. That's what he's a scapegoat, you know? That's where we get that phrase. Or maybe actually, I don't know. Maybe I think maybe the King James is using, I don't know actually the origin of this phrase scapegoat, but anyway, the King James uses it here quite correctly, right? That's the idea. They are the scapegoat for the sins, or he's like the scapegoat. He gets away with it or something. I don't know. Hard to explain, but anyway, that's so they use the lot to decide which goat is gonna live and which goat is gonna die. But they cast the lot into the lap, into the folds of their like robes. There's like in your lap, there's like a fold of your clothing. They had robes, right? So they would have the lap is like folds of their clothing. And then they cast the lot, and then they see who wins and who loses, right? And so it's cast into the lap. So it seems like a random thing, but the disposing thereof is of the Lord. That is, God is the one who's actually controlling it or deciding it. And by the way, this word disposing in the Hebrew is mishpat, and this is the word we always say that's like judgment, or sometimes they'll say justice, but it's like that. It's that idea. The judgment of the lot is of the Lord. He judges. He decides. He makes the decision there. Which, like, if you see this one, better is little with righteousness than great revenues without rights. The word right here is mishpat. So it's God's righteousness or his right, his justice. That's the mishpat, right? So when they say this here, it's got this double meaning. It's like the judgment or the justice of the lot is of the Lord. So the lot, wherever the lot falls, it's just. It's justice because it's of the Lord. Okay? It falls into the lap, the heck. And this is kind of similar to the bag. You know, remember there was the bag with the weights? A just weight and balance of the Lord's. All the weights of the bag are his work. It's kind of like this type of thing. The bag has the weights, and if it's a just bag, that is just weights, or just is again mishpat, right? So the just weights are in his in the bag, and it's similar to here. It falls in the lap. The lot is cast into the lap, but the disposing thereof, the judgment thereof, the mishpat thereof is of the Lord. Because God desires for decisions that reflect his will. His will is that they would have a just balance, or when the balance is the weight, like if they're weighing the things that you're buying, he wants it to be fair to the customers so that they get the thing that they wanted. So then he gives them that. Wow, guys, I can't believe this took me so long. I'm so sorry. Is there anything else I should say about this one? Let me see. Anyway, okay, so that's that. All right, I'm very sorry to take it so long for this, guys. So I'd like to do some New Testament things. Down like you're no spirit, only the Holy. You're no teacher, only the Holy Spirit is the teacher. Yeah, okay, man. So are you gonna ask the Holy Spirit a question when you have a question about the Bible? Are you gonna ask him? What is he gonna tell you? Is he gonna tell you? Use your brain, man. Use your brain. Did people in the Bible just ask the Holy Spirit for their instruction, or did they go and ask the teacher? What did they do? Think about it, man. Use your brain, dude. Come on. Did they just go, oh, Holy Spirit, tell me what to do? No. They went and asked holy people or wise people. I'm not trying to say I'm some holy, wise person, but I mean, I've put some work into understanding these things. I've done some studies on it, a significant amount of studies. So now I'm here trying to share that with people. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, so back to this Proverbs. So let's talk about this one. How much better it is to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver, right? So think about this one versus James 3:17. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. The wisdom that is from above is pure, is peaceable, gentle, full of mercy, good fruits. Is this better than gold? Yes, of course it is. Let me give you another one here. Matthew 6:19. Jesus says this: lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. But where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The treasures in heaven are worth much more than those on earth, right? So similarly, it's better to get wisdom than gold. Okay, with this one, the highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. I'm just gonna show you one for this one. Nevertheless, the foundation of God standeth sure, having this seal: the Lord knoweth them that are his, and let every one that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity. The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. Okay, 16:18. Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. So obviously, of course, you can look at James 4:6 and 1 Peter 5:5. God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. We could always look at that to reflect this passage as well. But you could also look at this one. Whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that humble himself shall be exalted. Okay, which is very similar to this idea, right? And you can also look at 1 Corinthians 10:12. Wherefore, let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. Thinketh he standeth, that is, he thinks he standeth, he thinks he's okay because he's proud. But he should take heed. You should take heed lest he fall. So take heed meaning be humble. Humble yourself. Make sure. Are you really think you're standing proud? Standing tall? Are you sure? Make sure. But anyway, I'm gonna go to the end of the chapter now and show you some of those because I don't have too much time and I gotta get going. Well, let's think about this one. The hoary head is the crown of glory. If it be found in the way of righteousness. 1 Timothy 5:1. Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren. The elder women as mothers, the younger as sisters, with all purity. Okay. That's similar to this idea. The hoary head is a crown of glory. If it be found in the way of righteousness, let me show you that. If it be found in the way of righteousness, right? Not always a crown of glory, but if it be found in the way of righteousness, it is. Titus 2:1. But speak thou the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, nor given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children. So it's like older people are going to have the crown of glory if they be found in the way of righteousness. That is, if they do this type of thing that Paul's saying to Titus. Okay? And then if we go to 16:32, it was, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh the city. Obviously, I already mentioned James 1:19, right? I already mentioned that because that's just obviously the same idea. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, slow to anger. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. You can also think about Galatians 5:23, the fruit of the Spirit. Fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, which is patience, which is slow to anger, right? That's what long suffering is. Gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness. That's another kind of slow to anger idea, right? Against such, there is no law. That means it's good. Now, with the lot cast into the lap, this is interesting. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. Now, we do see this story of the lot at one time, at least in the Bible. I think there's a couple in the New Testament, I'm not too sure, but this one's quite famous. Acts chapter 1. They needed to choose someone to replace, or they felt that they needed to choose someone to replace Judas as the sort of 12th disciple because he died, right? So they gave forth their lots, and the lot fell upon Matthias, and he was numbered with the 11 apostles. Now, what do we read here? The lot is cast into the lap, and the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. The Lord disposed it that it should fall upon Matthias. But does it mean that Matthias is the 12th apostle? I don't think so, because he's never mentioned again in the whole book. So you might think that the Lord chose Matthias here, or maybe he wasn't even involved in this lot business for this one, because Peter didn't pray or anything. It doesn't say it anyway. He just said that he had to do this. He felt like he had to do this, so he did it. And in those days, so they were all continued at one accord in prayer and supplication with the men and women, with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with his brother. This is after they came back to Jerusalem after Jesus ascended to heaven. Wow. Anyway, you know what? I'm gonna move on. But that's the story of the lot in Acts chapter 1. Okay, and then the lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. Think about this one, Romans 8:28, the famous one. And we know all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. So if you love God, if you work according to his purpose, then the things are going to work out together for your good, right? Because why? Because God is in control of those things. He decides those random things, those things of the lots. So he's going to cause the lot to fall to you and you'll be okay. So that's some ways you can think of these verses in terms of the New Testament. I hope that helped. I wish I had more time to give you some more of those. But anyway, I'll be back in about 45 minutes. We're going to do a stream. Let me just say a prayer and then we'll call it a day. Heavenly Father, Almighty God. Father, you're clothed in majesty. You're clothed in strength. Father, bless this Bible study. Bless the listeners. Bless those that came here to study your word and learn from you. Bless even those who came to troll me and to cast dispersions on me. Bless them, Father. Give them peace. Give them wisdom. Give them strength. Help all these people, Father, whether they came for my good or for my evil. Help them. Give them wisdom. Help them. Bless them. Help them to become better servants of you and of your Holy Son, Jesus Christ. Help them to grow in the grace and knowledge of our Lord and Savior, Father. I ask all this in his holy name, Jesus Christ. On him be glory forever and ever. Amen. All right, guys. You're welcome, Liliana. God bless you. I'm thankful for you. And right, I'll be back in about 35 minutes. Okay, guys? So thanks so much for joining. And bless you. And thanks for watching Toronto Bible Study. Hallelujah.
Okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike, Sam, Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you want to support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shields. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike, Sam, Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.